be around. No.
Hello, would you yeah, take one. Why not? Why not? I mean, see what's happening. See, like,
Nick is not here, so I'm getting you B-roll.
You know what? If pacifiers are passing by, it's not meant to happen. Sorry. They should not let that happen. You have a I'm sorry. He's saying you're getting better. She'll nurse you back to health.
Yeah, she's in class. She's in class for school.
Well, seats are filling up. I hope she gets here. What's her name? Margaret.
I don't know why that's true.
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
Is Michael here?
He would be here. He brought me to him. He was like, I know it's not a big deal and I know you sing. It's your first performance. He's at Ireland. He was like, this is the first time you performed for anybody in 26 months. It's alright. Yes, so it's glad you're coming. Yes, I know you're working all day. It's actually probably best that Michael's not here. I'd definitely mess up with you. We have not had enough rehearsal time for me to not mess it up with somebody I like. So it's all good. It works out.
And then she
That's why it's complicated. You don't need to share it.
No, this guy. Oh, so
Oh my god, this is why it's complicated. You just can't keep them apart. Is she not into that?
she doesn't love it. Where it's
It's a little complicated, you know. But you know, be true to yourself. Don't forget.
yeah, it's the most
How did you get into that?
I don't know. I don't know. It's really just
The other night coming too?
Good evening and welcome to the 9th season of New York Theater Barn's Choreography Lab. I'm Joe Barros and I'm the artistic director of New York Theater Barn. Thank you. That song that you just heard is from a musical that we're going to be presenting a song from tonight. The song that you just heard is called The Musicals of Tomorrow, and it's from a new musical called Perpetual Sunshine and the Ghost Girls, written by Sara Cooper and Lynne Shankel. It's also the theme song to our podcast called The Musicals of Tomorrow. For the past 15 years, New York Theater Barn has created an inclusive home for original, culture-shifting musicals during incubation. Since 2007, New York Theater Barn has been providing space, funding, and a safe opportunity to experiment in front of live audiences, often for the first time. We serve underrepresented artists and audiences in our commitment to anti-racist equity and anti-oppression ideologies, while adopting a decolonial approach to theater making and practice. We believe that there's no formula for musical theater except authenticity. During the pandemic, we pivoted, evolving our programming and storytelling systems to continue supporting artists and the development of original musicals. Since March of 2020, NYTB has showcased the development of 99 original musicals created by 188 writers while making space for over 800 artists. We recently launched a new podcast from Broadway Podcast Network, The Musicals of Tomorrow, and Theater Barn Records, our imprint of Broadway Records, released the concept albums Seasons, a new musical song cycle, and Freedom Riders, the civil rights musical, to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the historic Freedom Rides. We are currently developing Jesse Sanchez and Jeff Chambers' Sueños, our American musical. It tells the untold story of 3 generations of a Mexican-American family and their pursuit of the American dream. With a team led by Afro-Latina director-choreographer Maria Torres, the show will be featured this summer in Barn on Fire, a new summer residency on Fire Island, for 3 new musicals in development and a collaboration with the Fire Island Pines Arts Project. As I said, tonight is the 9th season of New York Theater Barn's Choreography Lab, and our first time here. The Choreography Lab is made possible by and is born out of the passion and imagination of Avital Asuleen. Avi is a choreographer, writer, performer, educator, and dance practitioner. Tonight we are bringing you the first Choreography Lab of our 9th season. And now, here to tell you more about tonight's program is the director of the Choreography Lab, Avital Asuleen.
Excited to be here. I am so excited to be starting season 9, and I feel so good to be talking to all of you for the last year and a half. We've done this with a teleprompter, and it's been scary and kind of watching the teleprompter scroll, but it's much better than just riff in front of a live audience, which I know you hear all the talk show hosts, I think, talking about as they had all their hosts back. Anyhow, I won't go on anymore about that. I'm so excited to be coming to you tonight from Baryshnikov Arts Center. This has been a long time dream of mine. It's been 5, 6, 7 years that I have really envisioned this lab in this beautiful space, and I'm really, really excited that we've been able to make it happen tonight. This is one of my favorite labs. It is a new works lab, which means we are working not only with choreographers, but with the writers of new musicals. So in this lab, we have choreographers Angela Patman, Courtney Lane Self, and Zanza Steinberg, and they will be presenting 3 numbers from 3 brand new musicals. We will see each number twice tonight, which is Choreo Lab tradition, with a little bit of discussion in between. The original musicals that are featured are Perpetual Sunshine and the Ghost Girls, Experience Marianas, and Francois and the Rebels, and all 3 of these musicals have been featured in New York Theater Barn's New Work series. Additionally, we are so excited to introduce our guest moderator, Hunter Bell. Hunter is the amazing writer of so many musicals, including Title of Show, Silence the Musical, and Otherworld, and will offer feedback and help facilitate the conversations about each piece. Hunter, come on up and say hello.
Hi, Abby.
Hello.
I took my mask off, but I'm all that.
Amazing. And I'm just going to make a quick note for all of you here. In case you're wondering, this mic is more for those people so that they can hear at home. So if you're like, he's holding a mic, but it doesn't seem like it's amplifying, it's just no. Yeah.
people at home are loving this.
Exactly. So yeah, I just wanted to hear a little bit from you about, what your thoughts are on this thing you haven't seen yet.
No, well, thanks for having me. First, I'll say I adore Joe and you and Jen. I have had a piece that we got to develop and work on and promote on virtually. And for those watching at home and for those in here, I know Preach to the Choir, making new work is so awesome and so hard and so scary and so vulnerable. And so I encourage us all to just keep supporting New York Theater Barn and these artists and each other, because that's where all the great work comes from. We kind of live, I always say, like in a red carpet world where we see the finished product and we see it on social media and we see it all done. And this is the work, y'all. This is the work, and this is how it happens, and it's awesome. So thank you, truly. Yeah. This is it. So I'm just excited to see the work of all these, the whole collaborative too. And what I love about this so much too is, especially music theater is such a collaborative entity, and so it's just adding another Saturn ring. I identify as a book writer, but I depend on all departments, and so I'm excited to be here and to dive into the work and make new stuff happen. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Do I hand this back?
Yeah, I'll take it for now. We'll have a little handoff. Oh, well, actually, Tori, would you come in with the COVID stuff? We don't want to spend too long talking about this, so we thought instead of talking about it for a long time, we made a little poster. All right, everybody's vaccinated, boosted, performers, staff, everybody. Everybody unmasked has been tested within a 48-hour window. All audience members vaxxed, boosted, and are masked here in our space. So that's that. And now I'll give you this too. Thank you, Tori. All right, just one final thing. I know we're really ready to get started. We want to thank Broadway Dance Center and Full Out Creative for partnering us with this event. We would not be able to do this without their support. Okay, let's get going. Our first number is Lynne Shankel and Sara Cooper's new musical Perpetual Sunshine and the Ghost Girls, with choreography by Zamza Steinberg. The number is titled Undark. In this musical, it is 1922, and the women at the United States Radium Factory are unknowingly being poisoned by the radium they use to paint faces on watches. Our hero Marie is more determined than ever to become the first woman manager at the factory, so she stays late to work while the other women go to the speakeasy, and she will be there to tell the story of radium product Undark. The dancers in this piece are Devana Batt, Melody Redding, Brooklyn Mitchell, Kaja Thomas, Yoko Hasebe, and Kiara Sweeney. All right, here we are, Undark.
A history of Undark. What's that stuff she's painting with that gives her that ghastly glow? It's the radium we're all acquainted with, but it's a special brand you may not know. Undark. Undark for work and recreation. Pharmacists doctors and beauticians agree. Paint your face, paint, watch face, turn the light up and see. Undark, lick, tick. The factory's sparkling and free. New Jersey, 1923. Time passes by as it's wont to do, and volume is followed by number 2.
want to go ahead? Thank you so much.
absolutely.
I just want to introduce the dancers. We have Kiara, Melody, Yoko, Kaja, Devana, and Brooklyn. In that order.
Amazing. Dancers, if you want to just hang out on the side for right now, just take a load off before you be listening. And let's bring Hunter back up and let's all three of us take the space a little bit more.
We'll share it.
Yeah,
Great job.
exactly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That was awesome, first of all. That's awesome. So I thought, so we have a little time we get to do this again, which I think is really cool, too, because you get to do it again. I mean, when do you get to, you can do the piece by yourself, but also there's this fun thing that happens kind of, I think, when you bring in people in a space, to watch it too. And this may be true for the dancer. You just kind of energy just kind of fills you a little bit you're like, I want to do a show. I want to perform this. And that's what I think is cool to find it. So I am interested in checking in with you. First reaction when you see that kind of performed, and for context, has that ever been performed in a group larger than this ever?
It's never been performed.
Never been performed. You're special at home. So I acknowledge, and I really do this because I think as artists, we're really good at seeing what we want to fix with it. So the first thing I want to do, I call this, my friend and collaborator, Susan Blackwell, affirmation, slipping an affy, we call it. So I want to slip in an affy because I think that we're really as artists, and because we want the work to be awesome, and we're constantly seeing oh my God, it was on 3 and it was on 2, so what did you love about what you just saw? And I mean that as a sincere question. What made your heart grow?
Yeah, so I think this is what has been tricky about this is a 7-minute number that we've kind of cut down into being a 3-minute number, and we're trying to go between the Ghost Girls, which will, they're living completely separately to the factory women, and we only have the 6 of them, and they're going flip-flopping between 2 different types of characters, 2 different types of movement qualities that you'd usually set. And I feel like you just did it so beautifully, and that was what we worked on a lot, was we have to have the human aspect of this is tragic, but of course the music is really driving and stylized, and we want to hit all those things because that's the storytelling aspect of it. And so I feel like they just crushed that. We worked on it a lot, and they did very, very well. Very proud.
I agree with that, and I'll slip in an affy, as we say, of the stylization of modern and period, modern period and performance and storytelling. I always think, and I know Lynne and the writers are here too, as a writer, I always kind of be it's like a holiday, a birthday gift, or Christmas morning, because we only can know what we put on the page. And then you add this, again, Saturn ring of your work, and then your work in the bodies that it goes on and interprets it too. Can you talk a little bit about just how you approach that, of how you get into that? What was even just one of the first kind of breakthrough, just breaking through that tape a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole process. I don't know if I have one specific pinpoint, but I mean, that's what I love. It's who you work with is very important because it's so much trial and error. And so that's the biggest thing is we tried a lot of things. A lot of things didn't work. A lot of things I go, I think it's going to work. Let's just keep trying and drilling it. And then it does eventually work. So, I mean, that's what I feel like is the whole part of this process is let's see how it reads. And I don't know how it reads until I have 6 bodies doing it at the same time. Right.
You can be in front of the mirror, and then you can do it. Then you add, and then there's the next story of what you think the story is in your head versus what story do we receive from that too. So 2 things. We get to run it again, right?
Absolutely,
okay.
We get to run it again. And we also want to open the floor up. Be thinking now, audience, friends, if there's anything that you want to ask about, if there's anything in the characterizations or in the story of what was happening that you felt wasn't clear or could be made clearer. Obviously, it's a showing. Obviously, you haven't seen the whole musical. So, take that with a grain of salt. But if there are elements that you have questions about, we would love to know that as well. So let's go back to that.
Yeah, I offer to, I'm always interested in what movement can do to elevate written word. And again, coming from book writer thing, I'm looking at and lyrics of what you can express through vocalizations and that heightened energy that you can get from like the full expansion of the body. Can you talk about, I always think about the stakes of storytelling, and the stakes of this story, as I understand it for the context, are truly life and death, and this moment in history. Can you talk about how you approach stakes? And that's kind of one thing I think I'm interested in the second run through.
Yeah, stakes, great question. I think what was interesting for me is, right, we go, when we can't speak anymore, we elevate to sing, and then we elevate to dance. This is actually sung through the whole time. So there isn't really a specific moment. I was like, wow, there's no just musical dance break that I can grab. And so a thing that I needed to do was like allow the music to decide when, for me, there would have been a dance break moment, when it's just driving movement, and then because there's a lot of this movement that they can't do if they're singing, right? Sure. But for the purpose of today, and for the purpose of and for the purpose of showing like what's possible stylistically with movement for a vocabulary for this show and for this specific moment in the show, that's just kind of what I went with. I was like imagining where that would fall, even if they are still singing and they're not going to be able to do that.
And I just want to interject, both for our audience here and at home, so just so we know, obviously this musical in its full context would be sung and danced. So we did use a track for the purposes of simplicity today, but so you're all aware, this musical would be a sung and danced show, in case that wasn't 100% clear. Yeah.
Which is doubly exciting to me, of that, like, you would have that stamina that would just marry that too. Yeah. So as I'm interested in, we get to do this again, and I always like to think about this as like, what is a process that really helps you, that really helps the writers, that really helps the performers. So what is one thing you want to offer, just like if you were doing like a little note session too, is there kind of one overall idea that you would give them to think about in this second run through, just kind of like even as like a rehearsal, we're like in this invited rehearsal process?
I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And it can just be like, let's run it again and just live your life too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's an equally valid note.
Yeah.
Just to be like, let's shake it up.
Yeah.
We got to run it through once.
For sure.
Now let's run it through again and see what you guys discover too. Even without notes, so it can be the range from that, or one thought, or it's on 3 instead of 4, or live your life and think about this.
I think if this was in a rehearsal environment and we just ran it, I would turn over here and say, how did that feel? What would you change? Was there anything that didn't sit comfortably? Now that we have this kind of new arena, right? We have audience members. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there anything here that felt different, that felt like, oh, in this space that worked, but here I kind of wanted to do this?
Sometimes the answer to that is just that you have to do it again.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. Yeah.
Repeat that in the mic.
Oh, sure. So the answer to that sometimes is we just need to do it again. And that's what it is. It's the trial and error. It's the, like, we run it a million times. It's that we try and make a small change. But I think if this was a rehearsal right now that they just ran, that's what I would do. I'd turn to them and say, how did that feel? And it's totally valid for them to be like, not sure, let's try it again. It was a little...
We do. I just want to throw it to the audience real fast if anybody has one or two things that they would like to say, if there's a burning question. No, you all are not used to audience participation anymore in our new endemic pandemic. Oh, here's someone. All right, let's bring the mic over. Yeah. You got it.
Hello. It was amazing, by the way. One thing that I was wondering and I was looking at was, I know beforehand you explained how the radium, I believe, was making the girls sick, and I believe one died. It was of syphilis, and was that a thing? And then, supposedly, yes, one died, and then was it another? The first one, the individual with the bangs, when she grabbed the shirt, did she die or did somebody else? I think just the clarity between whether it was them dying or a loved one had passed away. Maybe it was that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hey, I'm Lynne. I wrote the music. Hi. I I just wanted to clear up for story because there's, like Zanza said, this is a 7-minute piece that we've like truncated into like 3.5 minutes. And in this number, we kind of do, we do a bit of a time jump because it takes us through 1922, 1923, and 1924. And what was happening is radium poisoning apparently is really slow and awful. And so these women didn't die. What they were doing in this factory, they were painting the faces onto watches with radium paint. And in order to get a really fine tip, they lick the brush. They were taught to lick the brush, paint the watch, and so they were ingesting radium. And when the greater story of the whole musical is the women, as they started to get sick, they wanted to know what was happening to them, and there were multiple investigations, and the company every time covered up the result of what happened. And instead of telling people that the women died of radium poisoning, on all of their death certificates it said that they died of syphilis. So it was like slut shaming along with dying. So anyway, so that's why you hear twice in there when the women die, cause of death syphilis. It was not syphilis, it was radium poisoning. So anyway.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think it's probably time to see it again, right?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I can answer.
Sure, sure. Please do.
So just to answer your question, so it's two different things that do happen. So the first cardigan is somebody has not shown up to work. So rather than having someone do any type of dramatic physical death, in this space, I just thought, someone's not shown up to work, we kind of honor that person and we just have to kind of continue. And then Brooklyn, her ending is, for the way that I wanted to tell the story, is she's transitioning out of being alive, but she's realizing it and asking these questions as it's happening. So it serves as her removing her own cardigan or whatever it is to then add. So it's two different things that we've tried to do, but
cool.
Yeah, hopefully can clear it up.
Amazing. All right, I think it's time for a second round. Absolutely.
Surprise. No one told y'all this, but we're going to be filming them up close and personal.
Sorry. I don't know you.
It's all you.
Tick, tick, tick. A history of Undark. What's the stuff she's painting with that gives her that ghastly glow? It's the radium we're all acquainted with, but it's a special brand you may not know. Undark, it's used for operation. Undark, for work and recreation. Pharmacists and doctors and beauticians agree. Paint your face and paint a watch face, turn the light off and see. Undark, lick, 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 tick, 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 tick. The factory's sparkling and free. New Jersey, 1923. Time passes by as it's wont to do, and Molly is followed by number 2. Girl begins to fall ill iron and ore. New Jersey, 1924. How the clock is ticking. How the girls kill again. And we keep on getting sicker. But the company tells us it's safer than liquor. So we follow the rules and we don't ask twice. And we keep it sweet and we keep it nice. And we try to ignore what we can't understand. But it all starts to feel just a little less grand. When one of us goes to the dentist and the tired jawbone comes out in his hand. Cause of death, syphilis. Tick, tick, sick, sick, tick, tick, sick, sick.
Yay, they were so wonderful. All right, my virtual humans, you are going to get our choreography lab real. My people here can stand and stretch for 90 seconds, and my dancers can stand from piece 2, and dancers from piece 1 can take their seats. All right, great, excellent. And we are back. We are back for our second piece of the evening. So up next is Deeper Down from Rokicki and Beth Pfeiffer's new musical, Experience Marianas. Experience Marianas is all about a maritime cult, and in Deeper Down, we will see one of the cult members explain her history and indoctrination. That's more or less right? Okay. So, the choreographer, as I said, is Courtney Lane Self, and the dancers in this piece are Juliana Conte, I almost did it wrong, Lavon Harrington, Christina Hugel, Brian Ernesto Menjivar, Colleen Roberts, and Olivia Helene Welsh. So here we have Experience Marianas. Take it away.
I know some of you may have heard the rumors surrounding Dr. Davis Johnson. That he can see the future.
That he can read minds.
That he can travel outside his own body.
I know, pretty far out. But listen, we're not here to tell you what to believe. All we ask is you start this journey with open hearts and open minds. Now, some of you may have encountered vicious rumors spread about us by the so-called whistleblower, Rivers Moon. You might be surprised to hear me even mention that name. But we have nothing to hide. Rivers is a former member and compulsive liar whose online rants about us have proved time and again to be completely false. Now, on the other hand, many of Dr. Davis's predictions have come true. And maybe they're what drew you here today. Opening your mind invites the possibility of answers. Of answers. Are you okay? You fine? Do I know you? How's your shoulder? How do you know that?
You're famous. You're that girl from the paper, the star swimmer who was in that accident.
Are you obsessed with me or something?
No,
I have to go.
or anything. You just look so upset. I'm Rivers.
Okay.
And I'm totally not trying to be that creeper at the pool, but I work at a place that might be able to help you.
I don't need your help.
Of course you don't. But just in case. Opening your mind invites the possibility of answers.
He said he could see through walls, but he could see through mine, like an open book. Read my mind.
You have an identity of anger. You're blocked. You blame your stepfather for the crash, for being drunk, for ruining your chances at college. You have to let that go.
But how?
Start with a new name.
They said he had second sight. They said that he could fly. And when he touched my hand, I felt sky down, deeper down, deeper.
I
All right, here's Courtney. You want to run down the line?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So starting from stage right, we have Colleen, we have Christina, we have Juliana, we have Levon, we have Olivia, and we have Brian with a Y.
Amazing, wonderful. Come back in here. Let's bring Hunter back up. Let's talk a little bit about this. Dancers, you can take a load off over on the side. Before, though, I just want to make sure I realized I didn't have as much context in my little cue cards as I thought I did, which was why I was like looking at you awkwardly, like hoping that I was okay. So I just want to give the mic for 2 seconds over and just make sure that the exposition is given for this number in a way that isn't just me doing it terribly.
Oh, sure. So our show opens with sort of an informational session that just a person off the street who's interested in this Marianas Institute might go to learn more about it. And then we transition into a flashback where SB, who is the sort of de facto leader of the cult, she's been left in charge by Dr. Davis Johnson, who has gone into sort of a seclusion to have his final vision for the prophecy of whatever. And so we transition into a flashback where we see SB get indoctrinated into the group. So yeah.
Amazing. Pretty good though. Okay. I tried, but that was better. All right, here, I'll give this back over here.
I say, first of all, shout out to new work, shout out to vulnerability of presenting new work, shout out to new work in front of eyes here and in front of eyes of the camera. So another round of applause for you and for you and for you. Similar question too, in the same way I always repeat too, we always see those flaws and everything. We know there's the things we're going to fix, and we it's hard to be gentle to ourselves when we first put things out. What is something that excited you about what you just saw that was the work combined with their work?
I think that what's sort of, as Sarah Beth was kind of alluding to there, what's tricky about this and what really the goals were going in on working on this piece is that, and it's why we started with scene work and we sort of worked our way into the number, was we're kind of working on a couple different levels of reality. So we start in one time and space, and then we move back in time, different space. So there's a flashback, but it's still a real memory. And then the song itself is like moving into this like introspective, not real time and place kind of transitional internal moment. And so I think most of what we were working on was what those transitions kind of mean. And what it meant for bodies in the number, outside of Juliana, who is playing SB, who stays SB whole time, is the other 5 dancers were like inhabiting, you know, they might be an actual individual in one moment, but in the next, they're sort of like fragments of SB's psyche or feelings or an abstract representation of blah, 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 that sort of thing. So I think what I like seeing in the space is navigating those transitions. I think that's a really tricky part, and I think it's something that needs a lot of sort of nuance. There's a lot of nuance that is involved in that. So I'm proud in just a short time of what they've been able to accomplish, and like essentially being like maybe 14 different like beings throughout the piece.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I'm always struck too by, like, in new works too, like we have it on the page and then somebody's got to do something with it, because it's not just a workshop reading. Somebody has to figure out how it moves through the space, how it actually moves physically, theatrically, because it's not a reading. We do a lot of readings of new stuff, but then this is that leap to attack white the blank page and be like, how does this move? How does this even move? And then especially I love what you said too about how not does just move, like what is the quality of the movement and how does it meet the quality of what the intention of the writers is, but how does it help us storytell? And one thing I thought was so cool and successful, and see if the writers agree with me, it's like Christmas morning of like, oh, thank God, choreographer, please thank you from getting me from A to J without me having to write B, C, D, E, F. So, and there was that one moment too where this is abstract moment, and then I think the one character said, Sarah, we haven't heard from you in days. So immediately I get this moment of like, oh, she's gone and joined this group, and there are people somewhere out there, family, loved ones, who need to hear from her. And I'm like, thank you. Do you have that moment too of just like, thank you for connecting the dots so I don't have to write a scene? And in one moment, someone turns on themselves and said, we haven't heard from you in one day, and then moves, and it saves me like 10 scenes or so.
I think, like, in a nutshell, that's. Oh, I don't need it.
Okay,
I have a lot. Thanks. No, it's great. I think, in a nutshell, that's basically what we're trying to do here, right? Like, I'll just give a little big plug for Choreography Lab, because so many times writers will spend years with their work and just seeing it behind music stands and not kind of understanding that dance can help you take those jumps and can help you kind of like set the space and can help you understand how maybe there's a way to kind of put something into a psyche or shift how the movement is going to help tell your story. And until you can see it put up onto the stage, you're not going to understand, like, hey, you know what? Maybe that really does work. Maybe those 5 pages of script are literally this movement gestural thing, and now we can move on. Okay, thank you for playing.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I think audiences appreciate that too. And even I find myself, I'm like, words, page, and you come in and offer this, or these choreographers come in and offer this, and I'm like, oh, you get to show me, and not just show me, you get to feel it, and we get to feel it, because there is something elevated in this musical theater art form, and it's why I freaking love it, is because there is movement, there is song, there is dance, then you add scenery. Another slipping athlete I'll give you is, what I love when I see work sometimes, I can already see the gift that you give the design team, and there were moments in that, and there were shapes and kind of things, and similar into the first piece too, of like, I can see where the lighting designer's like, got you. I got you. When we open up into this circle, I can go into this. When I transition this time scene, they're going to walk into a special. They're going to do this. And that's just going to, that's that thing. And I agree with you, Avi, like you get it out of this hypothetical thing. You start moving through the space, and things that may not have worked even in a table read, all of a sudden become the most exciting part of the show, because you're like, oh my God, the breath, the movement. Similar to before. Yeah.
Something that, so I'm actually glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you saw that, because a thing that Rob and Sarah Beth talked with me about from the get-go was that, especially there have been some previous iterations of this, and in them, design plays a huge part. Like the role of sound design. Lighting design is absolutely one of my favorite design elements, so like I always choreograph with that in mind, but sound design and projection design will also be big in this piece in general. And then I think in the entire show in general, it feels like germane to it. And then in this number, for sure, the notion of like how lighting helps to tell that story. So, I think one of the challenges for this moment too is this idea of actually choreographing it for knowing that design elements will be put onto it later.
Sure.
And so what does that mean? Where are the gaps that we see, and where does design step in to fill that in a really effective way, in a way that doesn't words doesn't always have to pick up 100% of the slack, right? Like, how do we fill in those gaps? So,
I mean, I guess there's a question then that I'll just throw out. Is there a way, or is there a place where you can ask the dancers to heighten or shift their movement contrast in order to sort of like give us some of that play or some of that idea, right? Not just only raising the stakes, but raising what that contrast could be, saying, hey, we are in a studio showing, but maybe at points A, B, and C, you could make this a little bit more oomphed, as though we were going into this special, or as though we were going into this like heightened place. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one of my thoughts as I sort of watch, and as we were like towards the end of the rehearsal, the 14 minutes of rehearsal that we had, in the last 3 minutes, what I was thinking was, and for you all to think about too, and especially since it's the first time in front of people, but the song is swift, like the song has to move, and because she's getting pulled around, so playing with themes of what it means to be guided versus being controlled, right? And so the piece has to kind of like rush at us, but with that in mind, to just sort of think about the moments that are slow, to think about the moments like where the movement quality is either held, frozen in place, or slow motion, versus when we rush forward into a moment. And so to just settle, I think those transitions are probably the hardest part. And negotiating new space too, there's a lot of depth. So, allow yourselves to keep it into a place that feels realistic for you. But I think it's about settling into those transitions and knowing that the time for each moment is there and to like inflate each moment fully. If that makes sense, my friends? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just wondering if anybody in our audience has any questions or anything that they'd like to add. Anything from the group? No. 3, 2, 1. All right. No, it's okay. It's okay. We don't have to. I think it's time to see it a second time. What do you think? All right. Okay. Here we go. Second round.
I want to join the cult.
Come on in.
Don't change what you're doing. I'll follow you guys.
Okay.
Now, I know some of you may have heard the rumors surrounding Dr. Davis Johnson. That he can see the future.
That he can read minds.
That he can travel outside his own body.
I know. Pretty far out. But listen, we're not here to tell you what to believe. All we ask is you start this journey with open hearts and open minds. Now, some of you may have encountered vicious rumors spread about us by the so-called whistleblower, Rivers Moon. You might be surprised to hear me even mention that name. But we have nothing to hide. Rivers is a former member and compulsive liar whose online rants about us have proved time and again to be completely false. Now, on the other hand, many of Dr. Davis's predictions have come true. And maybe they're what drew you here today. Opening your mind invites the possibility of answers. Of answers.
Are you okay? You look upset.
I'm fine. Do I know you?
How's your shoulder?
How do you know that?
You're famous. You're that girl in the paper, the star swimmer who was in that accident.
Are you obsessed with me or something?
Oh, I'm
I
not
have to
stalking
go.
you, I promise. You just look so upset. I'm Rivers.
Okay.
I'm totally not trying to be that creeper at the pool or anything, but I work at a place that might be able to help you.
I don't need your help.
Of course you don't. But just in case. Opening your mind invites the possibility of answers.
He said he could see through us. Well, he could see through mine. And he talked of space and time.
You have an identity of anger. You're blocked. You blame your stepfather for the crash, for being drunk, for ruining your chances at college. You have to let that go.
But how?
Start with your name.
They said he had second sight. They said that he could fly. And when he touched my hand, I felt sky down, deeper down,
I know you're tired, but 3 days is nothing. Sleep is a base need we must control.
performance shortly. I just have to give you a little infomercial now. So, as of today, we have a new special opportunity coming up. It is a choreography lab, but it's like a special edition, special project choreography lab. And it is going to explore an original project from the creative mind of Maria Torres called Soul of El Barrio. It is something that weaves together music and movement and dance conversations that work to resurrect the ancestors of the Latinidad. Oh, I should have pronounced that one before too. Okay, supporting Maria's thoughtful and arresting work while also making space for the next generation of explosive talent. So this lab will also have a partnership component with Jacob's Pillow. So we are seeking 2 dynamic dancer choreographers with experience in Latin dance or the dances of the African diaspora to join this project. The applications are open now. The applications are open until April 5th, and you can find out more information about this on our Choreography Lab website. So please help us spread the word. The pertinent things here are we are looking for dancer choreographers with experience in dances of the African diaspora or dances of Latin heritage, right? So people who are in that world. So that lab will be happening on Wednesday, May 11th. All right. No more commercial. It's time for Act 3. Here is our final number from Jaime Cepero's new musical, Francois and the Rebels, choreographed by Angela Patman. In O Jerusalem, we follow Lieutenant Sanité Belair and her husband, General Charles Belair, who meet and fall in love on the front lines. After a lengthy battle with the French, Sanité and Charles are captured by enemy forces, and Sanité is forced to watch her husband's hanging. The dancers featured are Michael Ray Fisher, Rohan Zhu Lee, Leah Lewis, Shayna McGregor, Naima Ray, and Jaquez Sims. Here we are.
After all
And here we have Angela. Angela, do you want to just go down and tell us who those wonderful dancers were?
Yes. We have Shayna. And Shayna. And Jaquez. So I have to say that Jaquez just learned this today. He stepped in literally today and learned this. We had another dancer, Kevin, who was sick and couldn't make it. And I mean, just fabulous, right? I mean, killing it. Yeah, we have Leah and and Michael and Naima and Rohan.
Great. Hunter, why don't you come up and join us as well? Great.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Right, perfect. All right. Yeah.
I'll jump in. First of all, I always like when I feel I'm just so moved, and what's so exciting, not just about New Barn, but about this piece, and music theater, Barn does this so well of like, it can be so many things, and you walk into a space and you learn history, but you feel history, and so I just want to acknowledge that was absolutely remarkable. Similar to as we're always hard on ourselves and see the things we want to fix, and there's going to be time for that and rehearsal and many readings and workshops and all the things. And what did you see tonight when you witnessed this in the work that made your heart expand and that you loved?
Just these dancers. They're so beautiful. They're fully in it. I'm just so appreciative of all of you. Thank you.
I agree. It was spectacular. One thing I love just is storytelling, and there's two affirmations I always want to slip in about almost that motif of Charles with her, and it repeats like 2 or 3 times and that's such a beautiful thing that just kept coming back in, and I think almost 3 times and came back, and discovering a movement motif is just so incredible too. I also am so moved by the moments of movement versus when spoken word versus singing, and when you kind of break that in, right, I'm looking for the right, when you break that down of I'm singing this and I'm speaking that, and the power of her last words of that, I just thought that was extraordinary too, and in the lift and that freedom. Other things I want to say too is just the combination of such horrible historical things versus such power and joy, and the juxtaposition of those two. It's incredible. It was incredible. Things as you look at this too, knowing it's a rehearsal and a process, and we're in fluorescent lights in a room. What do you see? You would say as we get a chance to run this again. What would you say to them that you'd want to try or explore if we were really I know we're in performance kind of mode too, but we're also in rehearsal process mode, invited into the process of this. What would you say to them to say, I want you guys to think about this in this next run through?
I think, as a lot of the other choreographers have said, there's a tricky part of getting people to play multiple characters, right? The dancers have to go back and forth between the French soldiers and also the ancestors, right? So it's tricky to show that. And I think kind of delving deeper into that transformation, we have a little key for the audience of when we face upstage, we're transforming. But I think diving deeper into that body language, and just take us home. Do it again. Let's do it again.
I also got to shout out Swing Nation is coming in too. Yeah. I mean, come on. Just I know. What did you think you were doing when you woke up this morning? I'm presenting a new work tonight.
I know. I got that email, and you were like, but don't worry, it's already taken care of. There's a new dancer. I'm putting him in. And I was like, okay, cross out, done. Here's his media release form, and okay, I'm good.
We got it. Is this when we open up to any questions from the...
Open it up to the audience if anybody has anything, if Jaime wants to say anything, or I don't know. Yeah. Oh, I have one over here. Here. Oh, you can go, Hunter. Yeah.
Could you talk about what I noticed is that your use of stillness, particularly with the 4 dancers? Could you talk about your use of stillness and the juxtaposition of the other movement? Because that's something that popped out to me.
Yeah. I'm going to give this to you for them at home.
Yeah, for sure. So that moment, over here, it's right before Sanate dies, and we really wanted to show kind of I don't know the right word, but a moment where she's remembering her love. She's remembering Charles, and to keep everybody still in that moment just takes her out of that for a minute, takes her out of that, like, I'm about to die, really, and brings her back to that love. And I think the love is so important because it really transcends death, you know. So we really want to show that in that way. Yeah.
Other questions? Other thoughts?
Don't be shy. It is, yeah, oh, there's one. Great.
I'm going to take it back.
Okay, yeah, go, take it. Be the runner.
Not so much as a question, just a compliment. Your stylizing was so beautiful, and the transition of your fluidity of your movement, plus your music, it's honestly like, I loved it. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Before we run again, I'm curious too about, so you see it on the page, you have discussions. What's the first thing you broke through with? Research? Did you get up in front of the mirror? Did you start to move? Did you play the music? I'm just always curious about that process of just kind of what's that first step, you know, when Indiana Jones steps on the thing and it's not there. And then
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's a hard question because I don't really know. I got the song first. I mean, Jaime sent me the song and it's beautiful. And then, you know, we had some conversations about the story and about Sanate and Charles and their love story and the history. So definitely then delving into that and researching more about it. And then, you know, came up with some movement by myself at home, but then, you know, seeing it on these amazing dancers, our amazing dancers, is just beautiful watching it come to life, you know.
Yeah.
And
do you find that it's this kind of work or it's this kind of work or a combination of both? You know, where I'm walking on the subway and I'm like, I need her to be, she's going to have a lift there. Or, you know, because sometimes it's a combination, and the writers do that too. Sometimes the writing... Sometimes the writing is everything you're doing when you're not writing. And sometimes I'm curious with the choreography too, I'm getting on the subway and I'm like, I know it. I know what that motif with Charles is going to be. You know, those moments I'm curious about.
Yeah. There were definitely like that lift. I knew we had to have that lift. We had to have that moment where we see her transition from this world to the next world, you know, and that slow-mo pull back to the afterlife. So like there were things like that I knew. That motif came out of just playing in the studio with the dancers, really. I mean, it came once and I was like, oh yeah, we have to like keep that in there and thread it through. Yeah, so I think in a lot of those ways, there were definitely moments where things just kind of popped up, but yeah.
I love that. The reason I love it too, it just reminds us all here and those watching at home, I call it living in the chaos of process. And that we don't know until you know, and like, I'm just going to take this leap of faith and trust that I have enough information from words, from sounds, music, and then I'm going to get in here with these folks, and then we're going to discover another layer too. And just that reminder of the vulnerability of new work, and that's why I love, again, this whole process too, because you don't know until you get in there and get to actually do it. You have ideas of it, but we know, and you even know even more after tonight, and can take away, and on the walk home I'll think, oh, this is what I want to do. So with that in mind, we get to do it again. Yeah. Thoughts you want to share with these incredible artists before round two?
I don't know. Let's just, I don't know. Let's just do it again. I mean, let's bring us home. End of the night, like, let's do it, right? Yeah. Cheer us on, audience.
You never want to block the dancer.
About to get lit. All right.
dishes will then back. We pour what's left into the drippings can. Rich men are fashioning the trees into mantras. They draw the world with missing fingers and do bottles seamlessly. Cigarettes and ashes scented liquors. Can you spare the cash? I'm just $1 or two. For what I need to make me feel okay. Scars and old mistakes hold me together. That even after all this time, I think of you touching my skin. I've got you in my blood, and that's a sin. Baby, I'll do it all again. For those few nights when I saw you give in. Even though we both know the heart you got was never mine. Oh, Jerusalem.
Wie labat aber Escobos!
Viva Libre, aber Esclavage. 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 Viva Libre, aber Esclavage.
All right, you saw all 3 pieces. Here's some more from Joe.
So that's our show for tonight. I just wanted to say, you know, all 3 of those shows remind us about the darkness that is in our world, but the people that overcome that darkness, and sort of the hope and strength of these pieces, and sort of the culture that these shifts, the culture that can be shifted by these pieces, I think is really, really powerful. I also want to say something about each piece. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area and went to school there, and I knew almost nothing about the 1791 Haitian Revolution until this piece, and when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, well, the revolution was that year. It lasted until 1804, which is an incredible thing to me. So thank God for this piece of theater. Also, I learned, even more about the Radium Girls from Perpetual Sunshine and the Ghost Girls, from such a stylized and thoughtful piece that makes space for women identifying performers and characters. So thank you for that as well. And also, I think Experience Marianas reminds us about the inherent reality of cults, and that they're in almost they're in our society everywhere, and it's up to us. Do we want to be a follower, or do we want to be a leader? And I think it really reminds us about that as well. So thank you so much. I just wanted to reiterate that we are looking for our applications are open for our special lab, our special edition on May 11th, Soul of El Barrio, which is a piece created by the incredible Afro-Latina director-choreographer Maria Torres, who has done incredible work on Broadway and is our director-choreographer of Sueños, our American musical, which I mentioned to you earlier. Applications are now open, and you can find out on our website at nytheaterbarn.org. And it wasn't super clear earlier, but Avi did say that we have created a partnership with Jacob's Pillow. Maria has created a special partnership with Jacob's Pillow, and one of the choreographers will have a free scholarship to go to Jacob's Pillow this summer and be a part of a brand new program there. So we can't believe that we're a part of that. And also, Maria Torres' company, of which Vanessa Williams is a part of, is sponsoring this. So we're also excited about that.
So please do reach out to me. I'll send some follow-up to all of the dancers and choreographers. We are doing this on a pretty short window. It's about a 2-week turnaround that we're seeking applications. So we'd like to really spread the word to as many people as possible about this project.
On April 4th, we will present A Seat at the Table, a panel on understudies and swings, speaking of Swing Nation, featuring Kathy Voitko, Karen Mason, Ted Arthur, and many more. Through a robust conversation moderated by Sirius XM Broadway Radio's Julie James, artists of the American theater will take up space in a roundtable conversation to discuss the obstacles and opportunities that swings, standbys, understudies, and subs are currently facing. New York Theater Barn is committed to creating a safe space to have uncomfortable conversations comfortably, and believes that there's a place for all of us at the seat of the American theater. There's a seat at the table for all of us at the American theater. The presentation is virtual, and tickets are available on our website. Also on April 11th, we'll present the next installment of our award-winning New Work series at 7 p.m. at Theater Lab, just around the corner. The live and in-person presentation will feature excerpts from the new musical Without Her by Chelina Kennedy and Eric Holmes, about a woman who has lost her memory. And Black-Eyed Susan by Crystal Skillman and Matthew McCullum is a Southern retelling of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, as well as conversation with the writers. The presentation will be streamed live, and we'll continue to provide ASL interpreters for the presentation, and tickets are available on our website. Lastly, if you like the work you saw tonight, please consider making a donation to New York Theater Barn. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and tonight's presentation is a lot of work. As I mentioned, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and tonight's gifts are tax deductible. And you can make a donation easily on our website at nytheaterbarn.org. The last year is the first time that we're able to pay all artists. I've been the artistic director since its inception in 2015. For 14 years, I worked for free, and things have changed, and it's very exciting to be in this place now and to be making space for artists to be paid for their work. So we are proud of that, but we do need a lot of help. So again, that's nytheaterbarn.org, and we do appreciate everything that you can do for us.
Yes, absolutely. I want to, before I end us for the night, I just want to say one more tremendous thank you to all of our choreographers, to all of our writers, to all of our dancers, all of the just amazing artists who helped bring this all to life. Obviously, this is all about process, and this is all about seeing these musical theater numbers, but none of that would be able to happen without the generous time and talents and energy of the many, many people who contributed to this event. So thank you, everyone.
And also a special thank you to Hunter, who always reminds us about the power of blank paper.
Yes, amazing.
And then Hunter also reminds us that you'd rather be 9 people's favorite thing than 100 people's 9th favorite thing.
Yeah, get that in there. All right. Well, I think on that note, we've spieled. We could spiel forever, but have a wonderful evening. Thank you and good night.